So I have already animated this sphere. This is something which I will give you a brief overview of how exactly I have done so later in the tutorial. And now I will go to this PyroShelf node, and here I am going to press this flame button. As you can see that it's asking me for the source, so just select the sphere, and there we have landed up right into the simulation network. Exactly, this is the place where all the simulation is happening. Inside this solver, all the calculations is being done. This is where we are setting the look and feel of the simulation, how the turbulence come into play, and all these settings we are going to do here. And this is the place where exactly everything is, all the simulation is taking place. You can say that this is like a container which we call in other 3D packages. This is the place where all the fields exist. It's consist of various voxels, and this is the region actually. But where exactly the source coming from, this is the node which defines that source. Now if you click here, it will take you back to the geometry shop, and here you can see all these nodes have been created. These sets of nodes actually they are responsible for creating the source. Basically what it has done is scattered some points onto the surface of the source, and then these points they are having attributes like density and all, and later on eventually these are converted into volumes. Alright, so let's dive into the DOP network, and obviously we'll have to increase the size of the smoke object here in such a way that it encompasses the whole path of animation. Let me increase the size from the sides as well. Okay, so now as I play the simulation, this is giving me the results, but obviously one thing you might have noticed, that the very nature of this smoke object, the size of this smoke object is such that even though we want the simulation to happen only around that path, a lot of voxels in these areas are being wasted. Even calculations in these areas are being done, and as such it's going to become very harsh on your system memory. It's going to take a lot of time. So certainly we would like to look for other methods, and what essentially I mean is I will show you the end result. So instead of having one big container, we would like to have smaller containers or the smaller pyro objects, a cluster of those such objects centered around the path in such a way that as the sphere moves on, we have such containers appearing at appropriate places. Okay, so let's get rid of these simulations here. I am going to get into this geometry node and remove some of the nodes from here as well. If I go into the PyroShelf node, and this time I'm going to use PyroTrail. So let's click here, and it's asking me to select the object which is going to be the source of this pyro, and select it. Now it's going to take some time. Okay, well, here it has created a huge node structure. If we dive up one level now, we will find that along with that node it has created some couple of other nodes as well. As usual, this is created the DOP network, and the result of this simulation that's fed into this pyro import node. It has purposefully kept the display of this pyro import node on, and turn off the display of this auto DOP network just to keep things organized. So let's dive into SimSourceSift now again, and let's see what exactly is happening here. Up until this point you can see that it has clustered these points, and the way it's doing so is through scatter node, where it has scattered some points onto the surface of the source sphere, and then through a simple combination of this trail and time shift node, where in the trail it has used this simple expression. So at every frame it will calculate the position of source sphere at all previous frames, and then in the time shift it has used this expression here to cook the location of the source sphere at all the previous positions. Now these points are grouped into small clusters through this node, and the method it has chosen is both. So not only you have the cluster of these points, say if I would have chosen this option, then it would have created only these clusters, every cluster you can see that it's having separate color, but in case the average is selected, then it would have created only one point for at the center of every cluster. But here the method chosen being both, it has created that cluster points as well as at the average of the average position of those cluster points. So what exactly are we doing here? Well, basically for any all of these cluster points, whenever the source sphere it reaches near these cluster points, these points which are in the same cluster, then this point, the average of the cluster points, it gets activated and smoke object will be created at the location of that average point. So that would mean that we can have large number of these smoke objects, the smaller ones, unlike in the previous case where a huge single container was created. Now how does smoke simulation understand that it has to create a smoke object at these locations? Now for that, let's move up and now dive inside this Autodrop network. Here you will find a tab called instancing tab, and in here you can see that the path to those to those average points, it's been mentioned here. Another thing you might have noticed is we have this continuous option checked on. What this means is once this smoke object has been created, it will stay alive for the rest of the simulation. So otherwise it will die the very next moment. The problem now is we'll have to make sure that this instance point, the point from where smoke object is being instanced, those points, they need to be killed that very moment. Otherwise we'll have a lot number of the smoke objects created at a single location, and certainly this is not what we want. So back into the geometry node where all this clustering setup is being created, you can see that these setup of nodes, these are responsible for making sure that the moment the source touches any of the points in this cluster, the average point appears, and then at the very next frame it dies. Now this side of the node structure, this is responsible for creating the sources like sources for temperature, density, and it's creating such fields for every smoke object. Now some of the drawbacks that are encountered in this setup is, first of all, this setup is intended to create smoke only, while we intend to create fire and smoke both. Of course we can introduce other fields here like heat and temperature as well, but by default this shelf tool doesn't create all those fields. Also the trail stop here, this is resulting into a situation where we have these points spaced very closely, while in this case these points are spaced far apart. So if I run the simulation here, you can see some of the problems they begin to show up like so. Of course with little tweaking some of the setups here we will be able to achieve result, but then I'm going to create a setup which is going to be lot similar to this one, but it's going to be a lot simpler. Also, if you look here, to be very frank, the first time I used this setup, I had absolutely no idea what's going inside in here. I had to really wrap my head around here, and so once we know exactly what's happening, what shelf tool is doing, we understand the logic behind it, it's better that we create a simple setup on our own. So anytime in the future we want a similar kind of logic to be implemented somewhere else, we can just copy paste the nodes. And this is the way most of the Houdini users they prefer. So now I'm going to show different setup through which I have tried to achieve a similar kind of result using the same logic, slightly different methods, but simpler one. So first let's see how I have animated that sphere over the curve. As you can see that I have nothing in my mind as far as shape is concerned, just randomly created some points and created the curve. Next, using this subdivide, I have smoothened this curve, and the way I have animated it is through the carve node. You can see that I have keyframed this parameter here, and if I check this on and the last point, you can see that it's going to have a point number which is always going to be one less than the total number of the points, and the reason being very simple. The first point will have a point number of 0 actually. So using this fact to our advantage, I have appended an attribute triangle here and remove absolute value here. What essentially I am doing here, at every point I am subtracting the point number from the total number of the points, and as such, if you dive into geometry spreadsheet, you can see that the last point will always have a value of -1, I'm going to retype absolute here, and so as I skip the timeline, you will find that this is always going to have a value of 1. Next, we can just delete everything except that point. Alternatively, you can also use group by range, and here I am grouping all the points except the last one, and now we can delete that group. So you can use either of the methods, it's up to you, whatever comes handy at any particular moment. Also, one thing you might have noticed that this setup has resulted me into a situation where I have no point at frame number 1. So I have simply taken a time shift node and offset it by a value of 1. So now we have point at every frame, and the rest is simple. Just copy that sphere, this sphere which is going to act as a source of fire, onto that point. Now next, in order to scatter points along the path of animation, I have copied this sphere onto the path, just in order to make sure that these points are evenly spaced. These spheres are evenly spaced. I am resampling it, and then simply a VDB from polygon to create volumes. This volume I have smoothed a little bit just to blur out the edges, and now if I use the scatter node, we have the points scattered along the curve. Next, I have used this cluster points to cluster these into small groups, and the method I have chosen here is both. So not only it has clustered these points into small groups, but at the same time it has created an average of all these clusters at the center of these clusters. Another thing you might have noticed is the number of the clusters here is specified by the number of the points that's coming at this end. Just make sure that the cluster value here is set to 1, else if you change it, it will start to vary. Okay, now in order to make sure that I have an absolute control over the number of the clusters here, I have resampled it. Okay, so far so good. Next, we need to have a smoke object being created exactly at this point. But for the smoke object to be created, we don't want the sphere to come all over to this place, and then the average point should understand all of the points inside this clusters, including this average point. They should understand that a smoke object needs to be created at that place. So the way I have achieved this result is I have appended a color node to it and colored everything black. This doesn't mean that the points are not there, it's just that they are colored black. For the moment, let me switch over my background color to light. Okay, and by the way, I have done so by just pressing D key. It prompts me this message, this preference settings, and made the color scheme as light. Also, this side of the chain, I have appended another VDB from polygon, and I have scattered points onto it. These points I'm coloring as red. Now I'm transferring these color attributes onto these clustered points. Inside the condition tab, you will find that the distance threshold is kept very low, so only the points near the sphere, they are having a color value of red. Next, this color value I am saving as an attribute called initial frame, the X component of this color value. And next, I am running a loop for each of these clusters. Now, first thing I have done is I have just promoted the initial frame value, that is which is actually storing the color value from the source, and red color value from the source, and I'm promoted it from point level to the detail level, and then promoted it back from detail to point level. And this has resulted me in a kind of effect that the moment this sphere, the source of fire, it touches any of the points in this cluster, all the clusters here got initialized. Next, just for the sake of visualization, I am setting the red color value back to the initial frame. Now if we append a merge node here and just join these two sides, you will find that yes, indeed we are having the desired result. Next, I have taken a split node and I have set the value here to cluster points. and inverted the selection. So that way we are making sure that we are working only with average pointer, not the cluster points. Responsible for creating a group called initial, and at the moment it doesn't have any point in it. I have offsetted everything by 1 frame, and then in the attribute triangle I am inquiring this initial frame value from the second input. This one here describes that it is the second input, since the first input will have a value of 0. Then I am taking a difference between initial frame value and the this value coming from the second input. You will find that only at a particular frame, when the source sphere has reached this cluster, it will have a difference value of 1. Otherwise, at no other time this will have a value of 1. So the moment it gets a value of 1, I am just putting it into a group called initial, which we have created earlier in this attribute triangle. And now we are deleting initial group. This is now giving me the desired solution, where if I highlight that point, we will find that these cluster average of these cluster points, they are getting created only at one particular frame. The moment source sphere comes there, this gets activated, and then at the very next frame it gets deleted. Now let's move on to this side of the chain, which is responsible for creating all these volumes. And only that we have made sure that the cluster attributes are also transferred here. So we have these fields created for each of those clusters. Also, another thing that I have done here is I have just taken a point velocity node and calculated the velocity for each of these moving power points, and I'm giving it a good shutter value. So next, if you dive inside this top network, you will find that this is a regular setup. I will run the same. You will find that these smoke objects, there are many of them, they are getting created. These smoke objects, they are evenly spaced. We have full control over the number of the smoke objects that we want. Even if the source sphere, it moves at a very rapid pace and that it covers a large distance between every frame, we have ample number of the smoke objects available to us. Everything works fine as intended.